We're in Parashat Vayigash, and I think the message in this parasha is one of the most important messages that we need to understand, know, and apply. And we see in this parasha, again, we're still in the story of Yosef. This is spread on 4 parashot. And every parasha is the same question: how can Yosef behave in such of a way that he actually forgives the brothers? It's unbelievable. Every time you read these parashot, all of them, Miketz and Vayigash, Vayeshev, it's like, how can he do that? I don't know anyone that somebody does such a disgusting thing to them and they're fine and they just forgive. It's unbelievable. And it blows my mind every time again. And I told you that a few years ago, probably, I don't know exactly, around 10 years ago, I told you that we were involved in some business, and somebody, I don't think he really deliberately did it, but he really tricked us for a lot of money. And a lot of money. A 6 digits, big amount of money. And it wasn't like a stranger that I can that I can not see him. The person was in the same shul. And I saw him every time in the shul, and of course he was always saying that he didn't do anything wrong, but the point was that he did. And it was a lot of money. It wasn't that you say, okay, $5,000, okay, fine, I'll live with that. It was a very large amount. And in the beginning I was like, okay, I will, that's Hashem's will, and I will let it go. In the beginning, of course, I wanted to sue him, and my wife and me, but we were saying, okay, let it go. And okay, so we let it go for a couple months, and it was quiet for a couple months since the first time I saw him again. And then again, it came up to the surface. And then again, there was like a period of a year that I was like, okay, no problem, it's Hashem's will, and I will completely ignore it. And then it brought up again that he even had the chutzpah to come and tell me that I owe him money. Then I completely lost it again, but it took a long time till I really was able to really forgive and let go. Now, it's not that it changed my mind. He is 100% wrong. There's no question here. But I decided not to pursue it, not in a legal battle, not in the Beit Din. I was like, okay, that's what Hashem wants. I'm going to accept it. And now I can say that I totally forgave and forgot, and I don't have any anger or anything. If the question will be if I'm right or not, there's no question here that we are right. But I totally let go. But this is okay. This is just money. But to go to the level of Yosef, that's what the brothers did to him, and to completely forgive, this is unbelievable. Bemet unbelievable. So all the brothers, not several, all the brothers, and there's many things. There's not only the selling. So there is a story in the Zohar that, the Zohar, of course, it's relating to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is not the one who wrote the Zohar. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was the one who taught the Zohar. And the way it worked, that after he went out of the cave and he started teaching, he had a yeshiva. He had 2 yeshivas, and both were located here in the north. And one of them was called the big yeshiva, the Idra Rabba, and one of them was called the small yeshiva, the Idra Zuta. And very close by here, you can go and see the grave of the Idra Zuta, and the graves of the students. One of them, who was one of the dominating students, is Rabbi Abba. And he's the one who actually wrote the Zohar. He was a student listening to what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, and he wrote it down. And he's the one who actually wrote the Zohar, but it's all the teachings of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And if you read the Zohar, you see that constantly it's mentioning Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Abba says in the Zohar, in one of the stories, that one time he went to the city of Lud, which is about, I don't know, 150 kilometers south from here, close to Yerushalayim. And as he was going into the city, he saw an individual sleeping. I mean, I guess at the time it was pretty common. You're tired, you take a nap. So the person was like leaning on the tree, sitting down and sleeping. And suddenly he sees a big snake coming down from the tree and about to bite him. And as he's about to bite him, a branch falls and kills the snake. He's standing there all stunned. Wow, look at that, what a miracle. He doesn't even know that a miracle happened to him. And how he was saved. And not too long passes, and the person gets up and he wants to come and tell him, you know what a miracle just happened? And where he was standing, the ground kind of like broke and was like a little, how do you call it when you're not an avalanche, but something like an avalanche, and the ground like broke and everything fell, and he somehow tripped and he fell on the ground, nothing happened. Rabbi Anava comes and tells him, what are you? Must be a hidden tzaddik. I just witnessed with my own eyes how twice you were supposed to die and some force saved you. You must be a hidden tzaddik. Tells him, no, I'm a regular person. He says, no, it can't be that you're a regular person. What I saw with my own eyes is not normal. So he says, no, I'm not a tzaddik. So he tells, so you must be doing some very special mitzvah. That's what I saw. So he says, you know what? I do have one mitzvah that I can tell you that I do. And he says, I never go to sleep angry. I always let go. And I let go from anything that anybody ever did to me. It doesn't matter if it's their fault or not. I take into consideration, maybe they had a bad day. Maybe I caught them in the wrong time. Something happened, and I always forgive everybody. Before I go to sleep, I never go to sleep angry. More than that, I make sure that anyone that does something bad to me, I do something good to him back. This is called a gomel chayavim tovot. This is a common thing when somebody travels from a continent to continent. There's a certain blessing that we say, birkat hagomel. When somebody becomes healthy after a sickness, somebody comes out of jail, and then the way we say the bracha is hagomel l'chayavim tovot, that he rewards somebody who is in deficit something good. So this individual tells him, I always make sure that even somebody did something bad to me, I do something good to them. So Rabbi Abba says, up until now, I thought that the only tzaddik in our history is Yosef. We call him Yosef a tzaddik. Our sages, everybody got a title. So we have Avraham Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron HaKohen. A lot of the heroes in our past, they have a title. Yosef got the title tzaddik, Yosef a tzaddik. Rabbi Abba tells him, up until now I thought that the only one who's real tzaddik is Yosef, but you're way more tzaddik than him. He's like, really? Why do you think that I'm more than Yosef? He says, because Yosef forgave his brothers. That I can understand. You forgive people that are strangers. And he told him, you must be in a level of a tzaddik. Now, Yosef is like the symbol of forgiveness and letting go. Because really, what the brothers did to him, he has all the rights to be upset at them. But the fact that he not only they forgave them, he was also treating them nice. Read the parasha. He actually sustained them and their families for the rest of their life. He says, not only that I'm not upset, you don't have to work anymore. I'll pay all your expenses, all your trips, whatever car you want. You just come to me and I sign the check. So we all wish to have a brother like that just tells me, just do whatever you want and I'll pay the bills. So Yosef is the symbol of forgiveness and charity and being kind. And there is actually a verse in Tehillim, in chapter 80, that David HaMelech says to Hashem, please treat us like Yosef. Not like how you treated Yosef, how Yosef treated his brothers with such compassion and forgiveness. And David HaMelech is saying to to Hashem, treat us the same way, like Yosef Avinu. So, now the thing is that we know about the good Yosef, that's half of a story. There's also the other half, that Yosef in the beginning was not so good. I mean, he was treating them not so nice. And he was kind of playing games with them. And how he did it, one can really argue, Chas v'shalom, I'm not anybody to say anything, but he was really treating them not nice. You want to punish them, just tell them, I'm Yosef and I'm throwing you into jail. But why go with all these stories and pretend you're somebody else and bring me your other brother and putting the goblet in the pouch and coming back and throwing them to jail? Why all these games? So, but how he treated them wasn't so nice. I'm not saying Chas v'shalom he doesn't have the right. He has all the right to do whatever he wants. But we look at the good part of the story, but there's also a little bit of a less part of the story. And in the beginning he was a little bit cruel to them. And the story is that, first of all, there's three big questions here that we want to ask to figure out what's going on here. First and most important, how can it be that for 22 years Yosef doesn't contact his father? Okay, so in the 10 years you're in jail, okay, for 12 years you're in jail. But now you're out of jail. You know, when the brothers came out, it's 9 years later. 9 years, you can't send an email? Hey, I'm okay. Send a message. Don't you think your father is worried? He doesn't know what's going on with you. He doesn't know what the brothers told him. He doesn't know that the brothers told Yaakov that an animal ate him. He doesn't know that. You don't care that your father is worried, sick about you, and probably maybe other family members can't pick up the phone? I mean, okay, you don't have phones there. So send a messenger. You're the second to the king. Put a guy on a horse, send him up to Canaan and tell your father, I'm alive, I'm fine. Why don't you do that? That's in itself raises a question, wait, if Yosef is so good, how couldn't he contact his father all these years? It's not that it's a big deal. I mean, he was gone for 22 years. 22 years that you can't give a sign that you are alive. Not only then, if he loves his father so much, like he says, and he knows that the father is mourning the fact that he disappeared, why do you cause more problems than you're telling them to bring down Binyamin? Don't you understand it's going to cause Yaakov, your father, that you love so much, more hardship? What's this game? Just tell them, I'm Yosef, I'm angry at you, I'm putting you to jail. Or I want to talk to you. Why you have to make a whole scene here? And by the fact that you're asking for Binyamin to come. Now this is not like a drive from here to Yerushalayim, 3 hours are there. That was a journey of a couple days. And then you know that it's going to be very hard on your father. Why you do such a thing? That's not nice. That doesn't really show me that you're so nice and you love your father so much. Okay, I'm just asking questions. We'll have answers, Bezrat Hashem, but just questions that one can ask. If Yosef is so good, why is he behaving like that? Now comes even a bigger question. What does Binyamin did here? He wasn't even involved in all this selling. He wasn't even there. Why are you mistreating Binyamin? Why are you tricking him and making him the one that stole the goblet and then arresting him, putting him in jail, making him going to be your slave? What did he do to you? He didn't do anything to you. I understand you're upset at the brothers, but why Binyamin? He didn't do nothing to you. So the quick answer is that Yosef has a plan. He's been planning this for 22 years. He had a long time to come up with a plan. He was in jail for 12 years. Then he has another 10 years that he's... first of all, he was 9 years the ruler. 7 years, if you remember, go by the dreams from Miketz. 7 years that he predicted that there's going to be the famine. And another 2 years before they started, 7 years of the time of prosperity, then everything was good. And another 2 years into the famine. That's when the brothers came. 9 years, he's the ruler of Mitzrayim. And he had a long time to plan. And Yosef has a plan. He knows that one day the brothers are going to have to come down to him. He knew. He had the dreams, he knew what's going to happen, and the famine was all over the world. And the only country that had food was Mitzrayim, was Egypt, because he's the only one who had the information of the dream. He knew the dream of Paro. You think Paro advertised it on Google that there's going to be a famine? It was kept in closed doors. It was just Pharaoh there, Yosef, and a few other advisors. When Yosef revealed the dream, you think they went and advertised to everybody there's going to be a famine? No. They have key information here. What did they do for 7 years? They especially planted much more crops. So they have even more crops. It even says in the Parashat, but so much they stopped counting it already. So very few people had this knowledge. And Yosef knew one day the famine is everywhere. They're going to have to come to me. My brothers are going to have to come to me. So he had a very long cheshbon in his mind. And he's like, okay. And he had a plan. Now, how did he know that they're going to end up coming to Mitzrayim? How did he know? First of all, there's a big question, why didn't he just get up and leave or do something? Well, that we know that he understood. He also had the prophecy from Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu got a prophecy from Hashem that we're going to have to go down to Mitzrayim for 400 years. Yosef said, okay, I am the tool how I'm going to make it happen. So he says, I can't leave Mitzrayim. I'm actually happy that I'm here because I'm preparing everything. They actually end up staying only 210 years instead of 400 years. But Joseph knew he can't leave. He knew he has to be there. So he was waiting for the brothers to come to him. And he knew one day the brothers will have to come to me because there's not going to be food anywhere. We're going to be the only place in the world that has food. They're going to have to come here. Now, of course, comes a big question. How did he know? How could he figure it out that they will come? Can they just send a messenger? Hire a guy. Okay, you go to Mitzrayim, get us food. How did he know that they will specifically have to come? So Yosef was a very smart guy. He had a plan. And he said, oh, okay, I'll tell you how I'm going to make sure that they come down to me. It says in the Midrash, this can be found in Midrash Rabbah, that Yosef, he was the second to the king, he had the power. He made 3 decrees. And according to these 3 decrees, he's securing the fact that the brothers are going to come down to him. The first decree is that a slave cannot come into Egypt. You can't send your worker to come and do anything. You have to come with your Teudat Zehut, with your ID, and you have to enter yourself. You can't send somebody. You can't hire somebody. Nobody can make a business here and start bringing food for people. You have to come yourself. More than that, you cannot take more than 2 donkeys. That's the most you can take of all food. It's going to, and if it will run out, then come back again. Or you come down with the sefach. You know the Teudat Zehut has the sefach, shows how many kids you have. Come down with your ID. Let's see how many kids you have. I'll tell you how much food you need. You can only take food for you, your wife, and your kids. You can't take food for your neighbors. So the rule was, you cannot take more than 2 donkeys worth of food. And if you ran out of food, come down again. I'm not giving you, there's not going to be merchants here. I'm not giving any business opportunities that people say like, okay, let me haul merchandise. No, you come and take it yourself. And the third thing is that you have to come with ID. I mean, they didn't have ID then, but that's my joke. But anyone that walked into Mitzrayim had to state their name, their father's name, and their grandfather's name. And there was immigration. What do you think? Only when you go into different countries, there's a border with immigration? They had immigration too. Anyone who entered into the country, show us who you are. They stopped them right away. And the person had to come and tell their name, their father's name, and their grandfather's name. Now, Yosef appointed his son Menashe to be in charge of the immigration department. And every day they would get lists who entered into the land from all different directions. And he told Menashe, when you see a Yehuda, the son of Yaakov, the son of Yitzchak, or you see a Shimon or a Levi, or you tell me, I'll know when they're coming. So just imagine, Mitzrayim is not like a place with a few donkeys and a camel. It's exactly like I would compare it to the United States today, just that they didn't have iPhones. That's it. But they were pretty sophisticated. They had a database of what's going on. So Menashe was appointed to know, and came the night that Menashe came to report to his father that they have come. They entered. They came in. I have the names. Now Yosef was like, good. Now my plan is coming to fruition. I've been planning this for years. I changed the rules of the land because I am doing all this so they will come to me. Now they made a mistake. They made a mistake that they entered the land through 10 different gates. Yaakov told them, don't go all together because you're all, strong men, you're handsome men. He was afraid that there will be an evil eye on them, and they will suffer from that. So he told them, go from all different gates. And that's where they messed up. Because now Yosef has a cause. Yosef it was much better than what he was planning. They actually gave Yosef a reason to tell them, oh, you're spies. They told him, no, we're not spies. We're regular people. We just came to get some food. He tells them, no, you're spies. Because I saw that you came from 10 different gates. If you're just simple people and you're honest, you would come all from one gate and you'd come, like you said, to get your food. But since each and every one of you came from a different gate, I understand from that you're coming to check out how to conquer our land. And you're still scouting the land, you're spying to see our security, how we're parked here, and you're coming to attack us, and you're spies. Therefore, I'm going to put you in jail. So that's when they messed it up. And of course, the story comes that they come to him, and right away, he doesn't even talk to them. Right away, he tells them, you're spies. And of course, they start fighting for their right. No, we're not spies. We just came to take some food. Long story short, I don't even know why they said that. They don't even know why they said that. But they said, no, we're all the sons of one father, and we have one brother that is back with the father, and then we have another brother that is missing. So he told them, oh, really? You have another brother? Bring him down. I want to see him. What do you mean bring him down? Now they got they're stuck on their tongue. And he tells, I want to see them. And he takes Shimon and he arrests him. Now you have to understand that every little thing that he did is precise and accurate, and everything that they did to him, he did to them. They threw him in a pit, he threw them in a pit. They called him a spy. He used to go to Yaakov and tell Yaakov that he tells on them. He told them that they are spies. Everything that they did to him, he did to them. And then who's the one who threw him into the pit? Shimon. Shimon was the one who took charge there. So he threw him into the pit. And then he says, you can go. You can all go. And don't come back here without your 11th brother. And he knew that at some point, even if they don't care about Shimon, even if they'll practice the same attitude, what they did with him, total disregard to their brother, he says they'll still have to come back here at some point to get food. There's going to be another 5 years of a famine. Either way you're looking at it, they will have to come back down here. And he told them, don't show your face here without Binyamin. Now, they're turned around and they're going back to Yaakov. Now, comes again another question. Okay, I understand that you have some issues with the brothers, but why? What's your issue with Binyamin and Yaakov? Why are you being mean to your father now and to your brother? They didn't do anything. Just be mean to the brothers that threw you into the pit. Be mean to them. Arrest them. Why are you making a show here? Now you're gonna have Binyamin come. Yaakov is going to be sad. Why are you doing that? What did they do to you? That's not nice. Now, of course, the answer is that Yosef remembered his dreams. Remember, we talked about it last week, that right when he saw them, the verse says that he remembered the dream and then he became mean to them. So, but it doesn't say in the mean that he has to be mean to them. In the dream, they were just bowing to him. But the dream wasn't perfect, because in the dream there was 11 brothers bowing, and the father and the mother, the sun and the moon, and the 11 stars bowing to him. He says, yeah, I'm missing one. I'm missing Binyamin. They all have to be here. There are only 10. He says, okay, the dream is still not completed. So in order for the prophecy to be accurate, then I need all of them here. So he needed to trick it in such a way, to manipulate it, that Binyamin will be there. So all the 11 are going to be there bowing to him. And then of course later on Yaakov. So now comes of course the question. In the beginning, Yaakov didn't send Binyamin. He told him, I'm sorry, he's staying here. Let Shimon stay there. And which is another big question. How did Yaakov allow for Shimon to stay in jail? And he says, no, Binyamin is not going anywhere. He's staying right here. Now of course there's the question, why Yaakov didn't want Binyamin to go? Because Yaakov says, listen, this part of the family, they have bad luck with traveling. Because Binyamin and Yosef were the sons of Rachel, and the other 6 were the sons of Leah, Shimon, Levi, Reuven, and Yehuda, and so forth. And then there were the other kids. But from Rachel was only Yosef and Binyamin. And Yaakov says, this side of the family has some type of karma with traveling. Of course, he didn't say karma, I'm just adding that. But he says they have bad luck with traveling. Because every time they go out to travel, something bad happens. I sent Yosef to look for the brothers, he got kidnapped. On the way out from Haran, on the way to Israel, on the traveling, Rachel dies in the traveling. So he says, okay, there's some bad luck here. If I'm going to send Binyamin, something is going to happen. I don't want to send him. Now, eventually, Yehuda convinces Yaakov, and he sends Binyamin, and he goes down there. Now in the beginning, the Midrash explains that when Yosef saw Binyamin, he wanted to hug him. And but then he keeps his cool, just talks to him, shakes his hand, nice to meet you, what's your name? But the Midrash says that really he wanted to hug him right away, as the second that he saw him. And there's another question here. How come in the beginning he doesn't cry? Later on he cries. But in the beginning he didn't cry. He was very tough. He was just asking him a bunch of questions. What caused Yosef to cry? That he asked Binyamin, like 2 men, what do you do for a living? What's his name? Where do you live? He told him, how many kids you have? So Binyamin told him, I have 10 boys. So he says, really? Okay, what's their names? So Binyamin starts telling him names that are very weird names. And Yosef's like, what are these names? So Binyamin says, I have a brother that was kidnapped, that disappeared, and every time I had a brit milah, I had a boy, I couldn't have any joy, knowing that my brother is somewhere out there, and maybe suffering or is in pain. So every time I called one of my sons, naming him after my brother. And the Torah comes and explains where he got the name and why. That caused Yosef to completely break down. But he didn't cry in front of everybody. He runs to the room, he closes the door and starts crying. He couldn't take it, he couldn't believe, because he constantly had in the back of his mind that nobody cares about me. The brothers don't care about me, they sold me. And maybe we don't know, maybe he did have some type of a thought, and how come my father's not trying to look for me? Maybe he had some resentment. Wait a minute, so many years of disappearing, nobody's coming after me. And he remembered that his grandfather, Avraham Avinu, when Lot got kidnapped, Avraham Avinu chased 4 armies all the way into Syria. And I'm sure that Yosef was like, wait a minute, I got deserted. Nobody's looking for me. So suddenly he hears that Binyamin cares about him to a point that he named all his 10 boys, named him in his name. He completely broke down and cried. But of course that was after that. He was just very touched that one of the brothers didn't forget him. Now, again, after that, the whole plan, this grand plan, Yosef is framing Binyamin. He's first of all inviting them to a dinner, and in the dinner he treats them real nice. The Midrash even says that he told the person that prepared the dinner to make sure everything is kosher, to slaughter the animals in front of them, that they see that it's done the right way, and that they don't eat the how do you call the gid nasha, the tendon in the foot? How do you call it? I forgot. But anyways, he's the sciatic nerve. So he was telling the servant to make sure that it's all done, that they can see that the meal is kosher. So he gave them a huge meal. And the Midrash also says it was a Shabbat meal, it was a Friday evening. So, and then of course he's playing the game and he sits them down according to their age. And for them it's like, wow, how does he know? How does he know our age? I mean, we're all adults. So he's playing a game and then he sends them off. You know the story that in the beginning when they left, they found all their money in their pouches. Now they're being sent off, and then Yosef is sending his messengers, and they catch them on the way, and they said, listen, somebody stole the goblet of the king, and we're going to look for it. And they're like, of course, they're saying we didn't touch anything, why would we do such a thing? And of course he's framing Binyamin, and they find it in the pouch of Binyamin. And needless to say, turning around, making a U-turn, and now Binyamin is going to jail. That's where everything started. So the whole time he's really framing Binyamin here. And again comes the question, what did Binyamin do to you? The poor kid, frightened, he didn't do anything. He didn't even participate in the selling of it. Why are you punishing him? And again, Yosef has a plan. Yosef has a grand plan that he worked out for 22 years. He's been working on this plan. And the Ramban, a commentary on the Torah, explains that first of all, Yosef had to fulfill the dream. He knew the dream is real. And he said it cannot be fulfilled unless it's 100% how the dream was. Which of course raises the question to Yosef, why you think you control dreams? Why you think Hashem cannot change something? And instead of sending 11 brothers, he's sending 10 brothers? What, are you controlling the dreams? Of course, the answer is that yes, Yosef was in such a high level that he knew exactly that it has to be exactly on the dot, and exactly how the dream was. That's how it has to be. That's why he was like, okay, I need all 11 brothers here. Now, to kind of explain the plan that Yosef had, there is a story. There is a commentary on the Torah who was a poet, who was a very special individual. He's known as the Ibn Ezra. Lived about 1,000 years ago, a little bit less than 1,000 years ago. And he was known to have the worst luck in history. Like a shlemazel. Nothing worked out. Never had money, always had problems, sicknesses. He had the worst life. Besides being a great commentary in the Torah and many other things, he had the worst luck. One time he had a very severe eye infection. He couldn't get rid of it. And he heard that there is a doctor in Egypt that is the doctor of the Sultan there, the ruler there, and he's Jewish. And he says, if I will go there, maybe he will see me. And he didn't have any money, he was completely poor. He says, okay, maybe because he's Jewish and I'm Jewish, maybe he'll take me for free. He takes the time, he goes all the way down to Egypt. Of course, he wants to visit the doctor, the famous doctor is the Rambam, the Maimonides. And of course, he was a busy individual. It's not that you can just walk in and get a meeting. So he didn't know how to approach him. So he knew that he had a certain round, how he used to do. He found out, and he was waiting in a specific place for the Rambam to come in with his horse, and he jumped out to the path, and he was asking the Rambam, maybe you can help me. The Rambam looked at him and started screaming, who let this slave in here? Throw him into where the pigs are. How do you call it? How? Okay, in Hebrew it's called dir. Dir is where you put the pigs because they're in their excrement. It's not a nice place to be. So he tells, who allowed this slave to come out? Throw him in the dir where the pigs are. He gets thrown there and he's so devastated. he can't stop crying. He's crying and crying, and he cannot believe it. I came all the way down here. I don't have money. My life is the worst. I can't take it. And he can't even see me. He doesn't even give me the time of day, and he's crying. He can't stop his crying. For 2 hours he's crying and crying and crying and crying. Suddenly he feels, wait a minute, the infection, hey, I can actually start seeing. Then the Rambam walks into him, gives him a big hug, a big kiss, and tells him, come, wash yourself. Let's get yourself all cleaned up. He tells him, what's going on with you? A second ago you threw me to the where the pigs are, and now you're cleaning me and hugging me. He tells him, listen, I saw you, and as I saw you right away, I saw the infection in your eyes. So I thought, what would be the best way to make the infection go? Then, the salt that is in the tears, if it would run long enough on your infection, it will cure the infection. So
it's not only the salt, there's another substance.
The mineral.
Which is against bacteria.
Yeah? So 100%. So he says, so I had to make you cry. And therefore, now you're cured. So the commentaries on the Torah explain that Yosef, when he saw Benjamin, he wanted to hug him. He wanted to hug all of them. When he saw the brothers, he actually was happy to see them. He was excited and he wanted to hug them. But he knew that he can't just hug them. He understood that he has this very, very important mission. And he had to help them to do Teshuvah. He understood that. He really understood that he has this powerful mission that he has to help them do Teshuvah for the sin that they did. Because if not, they will go up to Shamayim and they will not be forgiven for their sin. We see that 1500 years later, we had to have 10 men die on Kiddush Hashem, the 10 martyrs, the 10 Harugei Malchut, that they had to come back and be tortured to death. There's actually a story that one of the soldiers, the Roman soldiers at the time, that was torturing one of the rabbis till he killed him. They approached him and told him, "Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? They don't have a gun then just to put a bullet in his head, but just why the torture? Why are you doing that?" And he says, the soldier says, that it says in your Torah that if you steal a human being, the penalty is death. It's talking about in Aserta Dibrot about not tignov, not to steal. That if you steal a human being, like kidnap somebody, the penalty there is death. So it says in your Torah, and your forefathers 1500 years ago stole the brother, and now that's the punishment they get. 10 souls had to come down here, 10 souls of giants. Rabbi Akiva was one of the martyrs, one of the Harugei Malchut. And he says, no, the sin was not rectified. 1500 years later, 10 souls had to be murdered for that. Yosef understood that he has to make them do Teshuvah. If not, they will be in bigger trouble. So it was up to him. He could just hug them and forgive them, but it wouldn't make any difference. That's why, I think last week when we spoke about it, somebody asked by saying, let's say somebody did something bad to me. And I'm not waiting for the person to come and say sorry. I'm just going to forgive that person. I'm going to say in my mind, the person is under pressure, he had a bad day, whatever. I'm forgiving that person 100%. Does that person still need to do Teshuvah? Yes, of course. The fact that I forgave him, that's great. But he still has to do a rectification. He has to do Teshuvah for the bad action that he did. Yosef knew he has to make them do Teshuvah. It's up to him. And if not, they're going to be in serious trouble. That's why he started planning that he had this whole plan that he said, I'm going to cause them to see if they are willing to rectify what they did. Me, they sold. I'm going to put them in a situation to see if they're fighting to save one of their brothers or not. Now, if they're not fighting to save one of their brothers, then they didn't do Teshuvah. but I'm going to make it in such a way that they're going to understand that they need to do Teshuvah, to bring them to a point that they have to fight to save the other brother. And that's exactly what happened. He manipulated it in such a way that he threw them into jail. Now they didn't know the plan. In jail they started doing Teshuvah. What did they say last parasha, what we read? That they said, okay, this whole headache now is because what we did 22 years ago. It's haunting us now. And they understood they need to do Teshuvah. Now when they saw this whole plan with framing Binyamin, is they wanted to see if they're going to come and fight for him. And why specifically Binyamin? Because he's also a son of Rachel. They had this jealousy that Rachel was the favorite of Yaakov, and the sons of Rachel, Binyamin and Yosef, they had some type of, they weren't happy with them. So specifically he did it to Binyamin. He wanted to see if they will fight to get Binyamin. So he framed him and arrested him. Now they wanted to see. He wanted to see if they're going to just be like, you know what? They had the perfect alibi. They literally had the perfect alibi here. With Yosef, they had to come up with some theory. They could have gone up to Yaakov and say, listen, the king in Mitzrayim, he arrested him. We're good to go. We didn't do anything. They had it prepared in such a way that they could easily make a U-turn and say, no, we didn't do anything here. He wanted to see how they're going to react. Now when he saw that they did Teshuvah and they were fighting to get Binyamin, now they did Teshuvah, they're not giving up their younger brother, now I can tell them who I am. Now you have to understand what was going on in their mind, these 10 brothers. For them was a rerun. Because they did the whole mistake by throwing Yosef into the pit, and then they didn't want to kill him. They said that we shouldn't have his blood on our hands, so let's sell him. But they lived with the sin for 22 years. And deep down inside, I'm sure it bothered them. Maybe this, maybe not. But they obviously didn't do Teshuvah. Now they're finding themselves in a rerun. Oh my gosh. Now we have to go back again to our father and tell him that another time, another son is disappeared. In the beginning, we made up a lie and we came up with this theory. Why would our father buy it again? Again, we're going to have to come up to our father and invent some story and say why his other young son disappeared. For them it was a rerun. You know, the Rambam explains that when do you know that really you did Teshuvah? How do you know? We're all about Teshuvahs, right? How do I know that I really did Teshuvah? That my Teshuvah was accepted? The Rambam says the Kadosh Baruch Hu puts you in the same place. I mean, the way how Rambam says it, same place, same woman, same sin. That Hashem is going to put you in the same scenario and see if you're going to sin with it again or not. So the way how Rambam says, he says, Oto makom, oto isha, oto chet. He's going to put you in the same place, with the same woman, with the same sin, to see if you will go again to the sin, or if you said, no, that's it, I had enough with it. Now when you see a repetition of a sin that you did, and you are actually recognizing and saying, hey, I was here already once, and you choose not to do it, that's when you know your Teshuvah, you completed your Teshuvah. Because if not, then if you sin again, then obviously you didn't do Teshuvah. But if you're able to overpower your desire and not to fall, then you know, oh, okay, Hashem was testing me, and now I completed my Teshuvah. Yosef wanted to see if they're going to fight for Binyamin. That's the whole plan, this master plan. He wanted to bring them to do Teshuvah. That's why he threw them in jail. That's why he was tough with them. But more than that, the reason to frame Binyamin, he wanted to see if they're going to fight instead of selling him. He said, me they sold, with no feelings, cold blood, disregard to my existence. They just sold me. And the sin is so severe that he said, I have to help them do Teshuvah. And the only way that he understood that is when he saw how much they're fighting for Binyamin. Now, Yosef did that in stages, how he wanted this to happen. So first of all, this is where we can start learning now the message that we need to get from it. So now we talked about a little bit of the history and what's the background. But now we're getting to the punchline. He wanted them to do teshuvah, and we also need to do teshuvah. The reason why we need to do teshuvah is because we're still in exile. Because our sages say, if we do teshuvah, right away we're going to be redeemed. And if we still didn't get redeemed, it means that we still have to do a lot of teshuvah. Means it doesn't matter how observant I feel that I am, and I might have a long beard and a nice black suit, but it doesn't mean anything. I still need to do teshuvah, because if I still didn't do teshuvah, then that's why I'm still in exile. So the first thing, and the most important and the hardest part of the teshuvah is called honesty. To be honest, to admit, to be able to say, yes, I did it. Most people, their ego doesn't let them admit they did something wrong. They'll come with all the excuses, and it's his fault and that fault and she's fault and she said and he said, and just admit. Just be honest. Being honest is the hardest part of the teshuvah. Being honest, bichlal, is hard. And not to chas v'shalom say anything bad about anybody, but most people are not honest. Most people are very dishonest. And I told you already many times that when I became observant, then one thing was the most important thing for me to work on is truth. And because from the background that I came, everything was about lying and dishonesty. And maybe 6-7 years ago, one time I came back from Yom Kippur, and we put the kids to sleep. I didn't see my wife for 24 hours. We're sitting, we're having a cup of tea. And I asked her, do you have a resolution for the new year? She tells me, yes, I decided to do this, I decided to do that, and very good. She tells me, do you have a resolution, a hachlata? I said, yes, I decided to stop lying. She tells me, what? You don't lie. I told her, oh, I lie. I lie a lot. Every day I lie. I lie to you, I lie to everybody around me, and you know what? I also lie to Hashem. And worse, I lie to myself. I decided no more lies. So I bought myself a little booklet, something like that, like what Esther has, this size. And every time that I would lie, I would write the lie and the hour. And came the end of the day, I would sit on my bed and say Kriyat Shema Lamita. I would pull my little notebook and I would find 30, 40, 50 lies. And nonsense. Real nonsense. Not like big lies, me tricking somebody out of their will. Nonsense. How many times you're driving, you're on the way to a meeting, the GPS tells you there in 20 minutes, now you're already late, and the person calls you, where are you? I'm there in 5 minutes. No, you're not. You're there in 20 minutes. Just tell them the GPS says 20 minutes. I left late. I'm going to be late. What do you think that when you come late after 20 minutes, he's just going to forget? Like you're going to jump into a dimension where there's no time, and he's going to forget that you were late? Why are you lying? Why are you saying I'm going to be there in 5 minutes? When you know you're going to be there in 20. That's lying. How many times somebody calls you on the phone, where are you? No, I'm at the mall. No, you're not. You're sitting at home. So these are the lies. I would write all these lies, and I found out, wow, how many times I'm saying a lie and it's not benefiting even me. I don't get any benefit from the lie. Besides a bad reputation and a very angry individual. Why lie? And I literally found this is my way of doing it, so many lies that they really don't need to be, I don't even need to say them. And unfortunately, people know how to get out of situations with lies. And first of all, it's a sin. First of all, don't think for 1 second lying is permitted by the Torah. This is the 9th commandment in the 10th commandment. Lo tisa ed shaker. You can't say anything, any false testament. That's a lie. You're not allowed to lie. But more than that, what benefit does it do to you? Besides the fact that Hashem cannot stand lying, because you're basically taking the reality of Hashem and you're distorting it. If Hashem made me late, and I'm now trying to somehow distort it, I'm taking the reality of Hashem and I'm not agreeing with what Hashem decided. That's how bad lies are. Forget about the fact that what I told you before. You make a lie, the next lie comes again. And then another lie, and then another lie, and then another lie. So, lying is a very, very severe sin. And Yosef wanted them to bring out this honesty because they lied to the father. Forget about selling him. He's like, I'll forgive you for selling me. But why are you lying to my father? You're lying to your father. Telling him an animal ate him, and here's the garment, and you soaked it in blood. You're liars. And the reality is that I'm chas v'shalom, I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, but we're all liars. Buy this notebook like how I did, and be honest for one day. You'll see how many lies you're saying a day. It's scary. And lies that will not take you anywhere and won't benefit you for anything. Just makes you more in trouble. Better to say the truth right from the beginning. It might not be so comfortable in the beginning, or maybe not so convenient, but you're done with it. Whether if on the other hand you still a lie, you have to already prepare the next lie to back up the first lie. And you lie to somebody, then you see him on the street, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't remember what I told him. Then I have to come up with another lie, and then before you know, but you think people are stupid, people see when you lie. So it might work for you once or twice, but not more. And this is the hardest part in Teshuvah, is to be honest. Is to come and say, yes, I made a mistake. I did a mistake. Or I did this to you. Can you imagine how embarrassing it is to come to somebody and say, I spoke Lashon Hara about you? You just think of, that's what you have to do, by the way. To come to somebody and says, I'm sorry, I spoke Lashon Hara about you. And I'm sorry, I stole from you. And I'm sorry, I slandered you. And I'm sorry, I went and told everybody lies about you. That's the Teshuvah. Now, somebody says Lashon Hara about you, you can forgive them. Or somebody slanders your name, you can forgive them. It's worthless. That person still needs to do Teshuvah. That person needs to come and tell you, I spoke Lashon Hara about you, or I'm the one who went and spread these lies about you because I'm jealous of you, and do Teshuvah. And if not, you're going to have a serious problem. That's why Yosef was like, I got to put them straight. They're going to have a severe problem. So the hardest part of Teshuvah is being honest. So first of all, he wanted them to be honest. And how did he make them be honest? That he told them, you're spies. In other words, you're liars. That's what he told them. What did he accuse them? He accused them that they're spies. But telling them, in other words, you are liars. You lied. And he wanted them to realize, wait a minute, we lied. We lied to our father. And the whole thing here, 22 years you live in a lie. Every time you go to say hello to your father, you know that Yosef is alive. Maybe not by now. And you're lying over and over and over. 22 years you're lying to your father. It's not that you lied to him once. So he told them, you are spies. You are all liars. That's why many times, people sometimes get offended by how I talk. Don't get offended by how I talk. I'm Israeli. My language is not so refined. And maybe the other day somebody told me, you offended me, you spoke in a certain way. I told him, that's how I speak. I'm not offending anyone. I'm not, my speech is not so soft. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. Don't get offended if I say something. But if I have to say the truth to somebody in their face, if you get offended, then the truth hurts. Sorry to tell you. Excuse me?
That's okay.
The truth hurts. And sometimes you need to get the truth. And and if the truth is thrown in your face like a slap, then deal with it. Because you rather deal with it now than deal with it in another time. Or chas v'shalom be saved from a bigger problem. So that's why in many times, people don't like it when I tell them, you liars. I can't say I'm 100%, but I have a notebook. I'm working on myself. No. So, they ran out of pages. The notebook ran out of pages. But the point is that I really, and wasn't overnight, I really took the time to start cutting this dirt out of my life. And it was so many times that I would come and say, no, sorry, no, that's not what I meant. And then say, and I would catch myself. And trust me, when you know what they say in America, the truth will set you free. There's no better feeling than that you're 100% honest. I don't owe anybody anything. I don't have to ask for forgiveness for something. This is what you get. And if you're not so happy with the product, I'm sorry to tell you, that's the reality. I'm going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to pretend something that I'm not. And if you have an issue with this, not you, I'm not attacking anyone, then deal with it. So the reality is that, if you want to take it from a different perspective, in my personal experience, the theme that I can summarize, what you see online or what you heard in a lecture is nothing to the actual experience. I just contract it into a little bit because for many reasons. But to summarize the entire experience was all about the truth. I saw the reality in Shamayim that there's no such a thing as a lie. There's no such a existence of a lie in Shamayim. There's only emet, only truth in the world above. So if you are stuck in the realm of deception, it's not accepted even in the world above. You're not going to even find a place in the world above. The world above is only about truth. Everything, the whole Torah is about truth. When the children of Korach fell into the pit, then a little cliff came out and caught the sons of Korach because they did Teshuvah, and they said out loud, Moshe emet, v'Torato emet. Moshe is the truth, Moshe is the truth, and the Torah is the truth. It's all about the truth. It's all about the emet. And the more the person goes on the path of emet, titen emet leYaakov, then the person will not have a problem in the world above. And if a person, their entire reality is about lying, they're gonna at some point meet a very harsh reality when they reach to the next world. Same thing with Mashiach. Even if you survive to see the coming of Mashiach, Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all see it with our own eyes. But you think a liar can stand next to Mashiach? The person will not be able to exist standing in front of Mashiach. Mashiach is going to be the epiphany of emet, of truth. Nobody will, if somebody has some type of dirt, he's not going to be able to stand next to Mashiach. He's not going to be able to dwell next to him. So it's all about emet, and this is the hardest part in Teshuvah, is to realize, wait a minute, it's all about coming clean. Coming out and saying, yes, I did this, I did that. That's why 3 times a day we bang on our heart, Hashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu. Why do you think we do that? I think I need to confess to Hashem what Hashem doesn't know. He's the master of the universe. He knows my thoughts, He knows everything. I need to confess to Him. I'm confessing to myself. I'm bringing the truth to the reality and out to the open to saying, who am I kidding? I steal and I cheat and I lie. That's why I do it out loud and I bang on myself. Yeah, I'm the one who did that. Yosef said, no. I'm going to make sure that you understand that you're liars. He told them straight to your face, you're spies. In other words, you are liars. Now, Yosef wanted to put him through the same situation. So, exactly what they did to him, he repeated it. They threw a child, he was 17, into the pit, so he took Binyamin and threw him in the pit. And then, they had to go again to their father without a child. He did that again to them. The same thing he did to them. Go, without you leaving him here. They had to go and explain to the father, where's the child? He did the exact same thing. Now go back to your father and let's see if this time you will lie. Now we'll see. And the fact that you're going to bring Binyamin down, I see that you didn't lie to your father. But he orchestrated in such a way that he puts them in a rerun. So they can be like, oh my gosh, this is a rerun. We had that 22 years ago. Now again, that's when he made them really do Teshuvah. They realized at that point that they were saying, we saw this movie already. We were there already. This is a rerun in our life. So he really wanted to do what's called midah keneged midah. A measurement for a measurement. Why? Because when you see in your life midah keneged midah, measure for measure, that's when you realize there's a God. That's how Hashem puts us on the right path. He shows to us in a very obvious way that there's a din and there's a dayan. There's a law and there's a judge. I can guarantee to you that all of us, if you really look back into your path, doesn't matter if you were born observant and you became a Baal Teshuvah, you were converted, it doesn't matter. We're all Baal Teshuvah. It's the same idea. And we all share a common denominator, that we saw some type of a measure for measure and realized, well, you know what? There's I don't like using that word, but a higher power in the universe. Something in the universe is controlling everything, that I'm meeting the exact same thing that I went through. And that causes me to like, oh my gosh, how is it happening? And Hashem makes it very, very obvious that I meet it and I'm like, oh my gosh. I coming to a U-turn. So Yosef, he wanted to orchestrate this whole situation that they will realize the mistake they did. He said, I forgave you. I forgave you already when you threw me into the pit, because I knew that I have to go to Mitzrayim. Then I knew I have to become the second to the king, because you're going to have to come down to Mitzrayim. There's going to have to be the exile. Yosef knew. He already forgave them. But he knew that they still have to do Teshuvah. So he wanted to orchestrate it in such a way. Now, let me just finish. The questions they're getting me out of my... So if you can keep the questions to the end, then I'll give some time. You can answer everything. So we see in the book of Bereshit 4 domestic arguments that repeat themselves. And every time it starts an argument and it ends in one way. But every time it ends a little bit better. What's the first domestic argument we see in the Torah? Is Cain and Hevel. They had a little argument of a little piece of land. The whole thing was about real estate and about a woman. That's what the whole argument was. You have the whole world. There's 7 people in the world, and he's arguing on a piece of real estate. And more than that, Cain was born with 2 sisters, and Hevel was born with 2 sisters, and Cain was born with 1 sister. Twins. That's how they procreated. That's how they had a lot of kids. And Cain was jealous. How come you get 2 and I get 1? So the fight started over real estate and a woman, like in our days. But we see the first domestic argument, and how does it end? With murder. Then we see the next domestic argument between Yitzchak and Ishmael. They fought. They didn't get along, but that was a little bit less harsh than a murder. They just split ways. They said, I can't stand you. You're right, I can't stand you either. Let's say goodbye. And each one went to a different direction. They erased the contact from their WhatsApp. They defriended each other from Facebook. And they're like, that's it. I don't want to see you ever again. So it ended up, at least it didn't end up with murder, but they completely split. There's no connection between Yitzchak and Ishmael. Then we have the third domestic argument, and that's between Esav and Yaakov. That already ended up with a hug. We just read that 2 weeks ago. Yaakov comes out of Haran, they meet Esav, they hug. It was a very cold hug. It wasn't such a warm hug. There wasn't a lot of love there. But at least there was a hug, and you know, they saw each other in the bar mitzvahs. You know, you're there, I'm here, don't have to associate too much, and we'll come to the family affairs. And then the last domestic argument was between Yosef and the brothers. And that ended up with peace. With peace. That's how it ended up. That's how we finish, how we conclude this whole 4 parashot. It ends up with peace. Here is lying the message that I started by saying that is one of the most important messages in this parasha. Is that we constantly fight with each other. Everybody's fighting with each other. I don't know if you noticed or not, but everybody's fighting with each other on all sorts of nonsense. On really, really nonsense. And this is the thing that causes the split between the nations, split between communities, split between families, and nobody's willing to admit the truth. And nobody's willing to do teshuvah. To say, yes, I was wrong. And the reality is that it doesn't matter right now the reason for that, but just look at the reality. Everybody's fighting with each other, and really for nonsense. You're on my property, you are pushing yourself into my area, you this, your house is bigger, you are more successful, all these nonsense. Everybody's fighting with each other, constantly. Unfortunately, we don't have a Yosef to come and say to us, wait a minute, you know that you have to stop the fight. You want peace? You want to bring the redemption? It's only if you don't fight. If you're going to continue fighting like little kids, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to go to exactly what Yosef saw with the brothers. If I want, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to be redeemed. We want to get out of this exile. We're not going to merit to do that and to get that up until the day that we stop fighting. So each and every one of us has to look into my life and say, who am I upset at? Doesn't matter right now if I have a good reason or not. Am I upset at somebody? Then I have to forgive that person. And if somebody is bothering me in one way or another, then the fact that I'm holding grudge, anger, and I'm not willing to let go, or I go and slander their name, or whatever it is, I'm now holding back the redemption. And this message comes to tell us that you want peace. You look how the relationship ended up with Yosef and the brother, with peace. You want peace in your life? You can't have any argument. You can't have any fight with anybody. You have to forgive. You have to go out of your way and say, where did I do something wrong? Maybe I did something wrong. And you can only do it if you come out clean, if you're honest. Now, yes, I know everybody will come and say, yeah, but what if the other side is wrong and I'm right? So, that's not going to help. Sometimes you need to know when to give over a little bit your respect, your position, your ego. I told you so many times that my father always taught me this thing that always is echoing in my mind, is that when I was young, he kept telling me in life, don't shoot to be right. Shoot to be smart. Don't go after being right, because even if you are 100% right, it's not going to do to you any good. And it's just going to get you into more arguments and more problems. Aim just to be smart. In any argument that you have, it's not about being right, it's about being smart. So unfortunately, we're all constantly fighting, whether we agree with it or not. We're always going to find myself in some type of an argument with somebody. I'm not talking about some people really go and they make it their business to create an argument and to create a fight and to create a split between the community or between the nation. It doesn't matter. Some people, that's their agenda. And some people are in such a bad place that they think that what they're doing is for the sake of Shamayim, that they're doing something good here. Any type of an argument is not accepted by the Torah. Any type of disagreement, in any type of a way, is not accepted. It's not the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The entire Torah is only for peace. This is the essence of the Torah, peace, shalom. Look at all the brachot that we have. We're so lucky here. We have Birkat Kohanim here every morning. You know how they end the bracha? V'yasem lecha shalom. You should put peace on you. We pray Shmona Esrei 3 times a day. V'yasem lecha shalom. We say Kaddish 3 times a day. Oseh shalom bimromav. It's all about peace. The entire Torah is promoting peace. There's not one place in the Torah that tells you, yes, I want you to live in an argument. The Torah says about the Hashem himself, he's willing to erase his name to have peace between a husband and wife. The Torah is only promoting peace. So if I'm doing anything that is promoting the opposite of peace, that doesn't matter how long my beard is and how black my suit is, I cannot call myself a God-fearing individual. Because the Torah teaches me, pursue peace. Bakesh shalom v'radfeu. Ask for peace and pursue it. So any individual that is caught in a situation that is the opposite of peace, then he's doing exactly what the brothers did. And comes a Yosef and says, listen, you want peace in your life? You want to be out of this situation? Then forgive. Then forget. Then move on. Then promote some type of a peace. Do something. And this is really the secret where the secret lies, is how we can and will get redeemed. It's not about how religious we are and how strict I am with checking my leaves, or how long my dress is. This is all important. But only thing that's going to bring us the redemption, and at least we want at least to come the least as problem as possible. We want it to come nice. It's only if we're able to bridge between one another and create peace. So the point that we want to take from that, especially in such an auspicious time like Hanukkah, that the whole point of Hanukkah is to create unity, is that each and every one of us has to look in my life, is there any situation that it's the opposite of peace, that I'm creating something here, that I can give up my little bit of my ego? Now if somebody's attacking me all day long and I'm nobody here, I mean, how many times? I didn't do anything. That person is attacking me. They're on my case. But at least the minimum that you can do is let go and forgive that person and not hold grudge and not to go and make it even worse. Now I know this is not here, we're not here not to give a black and white answer to every situation. I'm sure once we're going to start taking questions, you're all going to ask me the same question, but they started, but they are mean to me, but they're doing this to... There's no black and white answer here. The point is that each and every one of us in our level has to understand, is there anything that I can do? Is there any person that I can forgive even though they're really mean to me? Maybe they're having a bad day. Remember the story I told you in the beginning with Rabbi Abba? He said, the person says, I forgive everybody. And I will make it in my mind that they had a bad day. I caught them in a very bad time. And they have all the rights to do it. And Hashem just sent them to me. So if I will live in the idea of how am I bringing peace? How am I bringing peace between a man and a wife? How am I bringing peace between me and myself? How am I bringing peace between two parts of the community? The problem is that when something like this happens, nobody wants to jump in. And nobody wants to take a side. Nobody wants to be the one that's trying to mediate and trying to make peace. But the point is that the only way that we're going to be redeemed is if we really do teshuvah. And to really do teshuvah, yes, you have to sometimes put your ego down and to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. That's why Yosef constantly wanted to push to the direction for them to admit. Just admit. Just come out clean and say, yes, we did it. Can you imagine? This is an answer a question that we don't really have the answer. When Yaakov found out, we're going to learn that next week, that Yosef is alive. Don't you think that he asked the boys, the sons, why did you tell me that he was eaten? Don't you think Yaakov approached them and told them, hello, well, what happened? The Midrash actually says that for 17 years Yosef avoided Yaakov to be any time by himself with him. Yosef was afraid that Yaakov will tell him, tell me, what happened? What really happened that night? Yosef was avoiding to be by himself with Yaakov. That chas v'shalom, Yaakov should not ask him what happened and he should tell him the truth. He always made sure there's people around, and for 17 years he did not want to come even to that situation. But really this is the question we didn't give an answer. How come Yaakov didn't approach the tribes and tell them, tell me, you told me that an animal ate him. He's alive. The point you want to take from that is very simple. It's very easy to ask questions. It's harder to get answers, and it's even harder to do actions. But this specific parasha is coming to teach me something so profound and deep, is that we all want peace in our life at the end of the day. If we now will make a vote, I can guarantee to you, everybody will raise their hand if I ask you the question if you have a problem in your life right now. Everybody, and if you had 10 hands, you will raise all 10 hands. Everybody has problems. One person cannot make ends meet, doesn't have any livelihood. Another person is sick. Another person can't get married. Another person doesn't have children. Another person has problem with the children. Everybody has problems. There's not one person here who can say, oh, my life is amazing. I'm having a great day. Nobody. Everybody has something there that they're challenging. There's some type of a challenge. Because Hashem is squeezing the juice out of us because He just wants us to do teshuvah. Just look at where Hashem is squeezing you. And this is the midah keneged midah. This is exactly what Yosef did to the tribes. He put them in the same situation. So they will realize, we have to do teshuvah for the fact that we sold our brother. And we have to do teshuvah for the fact that we will be lying to our father for 22 years. So Yosef manipulated the situation. He wasn't looking to be mean to them. He wanted to bring them to a point that they will understand what they need to do teshuvah for. Look at the challenge you have in your life now. This is what the hint that Hashem is sending you, where you need to do teshuvah. Because Hashem wants us all to do teshuvah. Because any moment Mashiach can come. Trust me, you want to do teshuvah before Mashiach comes. You do not want to hear those jets. Remember how we heard them on Friday or Thursday? Who was here? Yeah, it's insane. And this is just like a taste. Only a few of them flying for a few seconds. So Mashiach is coming any second. Hashem is hinting to us, do teshuvah. Do teshuvah. First of all, you do teshuvah the right way, the redemption will come nice, soft, easy, and fast. But if not, it says in the Talmud, if Israel osim teshuvah, the sons of Yaakov will do teshuvah, miyad nigalim, they will get redeemed right away. V'im lav, and if they won't, it says, Ma'amid ani lemelech shegzerotav kashot mishel Haman. I'm going to put on them a king that his decrees are worse than Haman, u'machziram lamutav. And I'm going to make them do tshuva. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to have a physical king coming doing what Haman did. But it means that the decrees that are coming are worse than Haman. We're all under stress. We're all under some type of a challenge or a fight. Hashem says, just do tshuva. What's the big deal? Just admit. Just be honest. Just admit and do tshuva. I know it's not easy. To do tshuva for little things and to put a yarmulke on your head or to put a dress on, that's very nice. But the real tshuva is rectifying something that I messed in the past. And you know what? It's going to be very embarrassing to do it. When my wife made tshuva, then part of the process, she called a girl that she used to bully her in 3rd and 4th grade. She looked her up and she called her and she told her, remember me? She's like, oh, I remember you. And she said, I wanted to apologize for bullying you when we were little kids. And the girl told her, I hated you. You made my life miserable. And I forgive you now, but my wife looked her up. That's tshuva. And it's not easy to come to a person in their face and tell them, you know what, I'm sorry, I talked lashon hara about you. I don't know how to take it back. I'm going to go now and say to everybody, I said lashon hara about that person. Tshuva is not so easy. But at least we have the base, and the base is only honesty. And that's why the brothers, Yosef called them spies. He didn't want to say the word shakranim, liars. That's very harsh. They're just spies. He lies in a different way. So we have so much information from this parasha how to apply to my life, that if I do apply that in the right way, then it will allow me to do the right tshuva. And if each and every one of us will apply something out of it, just imagine how better the world will be. Doesn't matter how my life would be better. We're all running after the same thing. We want to just live in peace. I don't care right now what car I have. Just 5 minutes of quiet. I just need like a half a day of quiet. Yesterday I made myself a cup of coffee after Shabbat. The kids were doing whatever they were doing. And my wife and me sat down 5 minutes. I didn't see her for like 3 months. I see her on the other side of the table. And we're just drinking, and the kids kept coming in and out, and she told them, just give me 5 minutes. I just want to talk to your father for 5 minutes. I'm not asking much. So we were drinking our cup of coffee for 5 minutes, and the 5 minutes became 4 minutes, and after 4 minutes, the kids coming in and phone calls and action, and I was like, okay, no, we got our 4 minutes of quiet. So we all want our couple of minutes of I just need the switch to go down. I can't deal right now, just quiet. No, after the same thing. So we have an unbelievable message in the parasha, what we need to do. And if we apply that, this will be our redemption. Because the whole exile of Egypt was because, first of all, there was a prophecy for Abraham, but the whole scene, Yosef went to Mitzrayim to prepare the whole thing, they went into exile. So we're now in severe exile, and either way you're looking at it, the situation doesn't look so good, and Hashem is just telling me, just do tshuva. And the real depth of my tshuva is I cannot have any disagreements, arguments, and fights. I have to do whatever I can in my power to straighten things out. Whatever I can, even if it means to lower my ego, even if it means to shut up, even if it means to forgive somebody that is 100% wrong. It's not about if he's wrong or not. You have to be smart here. B'ezrat Hashem, if we're able to do that, then we are going to reach to the ultimate blessing of peace. That's why the last argument, it ends with peace between the tribes and Yosef. B'ezrat Hashem, we should be successful in everything that we do, that we should see things in a more mature way, see things as they are, and to know to do tshuva, and to know when to back off, and when to forgive, and when to know to be the bigger person to smooth things out. And even if it's not even between, even doing it to another person. And for sure not to get myself into any situation that I'm causing, chas v'shalom, this hate and this argument and the anger and animosity. And b'ezrat Hashem, if we each and every one of us just apply a little bit of it, of everything that I just said now, I can guarantee to you that your life will be much, much smoother. And I'm not saying that this is a guarantee that your problems will be solved, but at least it will be smoother. And needless to say that if we put our effort together, then it will hasten the redemption. And we have a very auspicious year now. In the year 5778, we have all the information that this is the most auspicious year to convince the Kadosh Baruch Hu to bring the redemption. Somebody, I told him on Friday, so he says, oh, so you're saying this is the year of the redemption. I said, don't take my words out of context. I didn't say that. I just said it's the most auspicious time to convince the Kadosh Baruch Hu to send the redemption. And we have to prove, we have to show to the Kadosh Baruch Hu we're willing to do whatever it takes. And the only thing that Hashem wants to see is honesty and stop fighting. Stop fighting. Can you not fight for 5 minutes? I'm sure you ever took a road trip with your kids and they're all sitting in the back for 2 hours fighting. Shut up already! Can't you get along for 5 minutes? That's what Hashem would want to tell us if He could. Stop! Can't get along? Let's see you getting along for 1 month. Stop already! So that's what Hashem wants, and we have to convince Him. We have to show Him that we're willing to get along, as hard as it is. And that can only be applied if I'm 100% honest. I'm not telling you to go now in the streets and start telling people everything you think about them. And there's no black and white answer. I know you're going to ask me, oh, but she did this to me and he did that to me. There's no black and white answers here. And there's no time now to answer each individual. The point is that you get the idea and you apply it. And if you apply it, I can guarantee to you your life will become a little bit smoother, probably a lot more smoother. And needless to say that we should merit to see the ultimate redemption, and as a result of our hard work. And we have an auspicious time now to take this decision because we're still in the middle of Hanukkah, the holiday of unity, the holiday of giving, the holiday of the redemption. As the most powerful holiday to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to buy this little notebook now, start writing all my lies, and I'm changing. I'm making a change. And my entire agenda is to make peace. Doesn't matter what it is. Look at the Mishnah that we read in the morning. In most of the Sidurim, we have a Mishnah that we read in the morning, in the beginning of the morning prayers, that it says, what are the greatest mitzvot? Escorting a person, chas v'shalom, that dies, visiting somebody that is sick. And what is one of the things? Bringing peace between a person and another person, or between a husband and wife. So we have to apply that, and if we do, and we can be successful, then we will be blessed with the ultimate blessing of Hashem, of peace, and that's what we all want. So I'm only going to leave you here with wishing you a peaceful week, a week and a month and a year of just happiness, success, and peace in your life. And Bezat Hashem, Bemet, we should merit to see the lighting of the ultimate candles in Bet HaMikdash. This can only happen if we really apply everything that I said now to our Teshuvah. And Hashem is waiting. He's just waiting for us to come. Bezat Hashem, it should happen very soon. We should see it with our own eyes.